Okay, guys, today I am destashing. I have got way too much wood in my stash, so today I'm going to be starting to get all of this painted. I just really need to get a lot of things painted. This I picked up, I think, let's see. I think it was half off of that $6.99, but it's a really, I guess it's a magazine rack or something. Everything needs cleaned up, but this is a good sturdy wood. I got this letter holder at the Goodwill bins, and it definitely needs a paint job, as well as this raw wood. What are these called? You can put like a big centerpiece, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. It's missing one of its handles, but I've got plenty of handles. That's no worry, or we can just take them off and fill them holes. I think that I've decided that that would look beautiful in this frame. So I'm going to paint this frame and change this artwork into it. Got just a couple of little cutting boards, and I want to use some of the new rice papers on that, as well as I've got some IOD wood blanks, some risers, silver little platter, a hobnail glass, and this beauty. I haven't decided what I'm going to do on this yet. But we're going to get all this done in this week's video. So let's get started. I don't always show this process, but I feel like it's actually one of the most important parts. Here I am cleaning all of these items. I actually do end up pulling a few more things out, so this video is just going to continue. It's going to be pretty long, but I really need to get a lot done, so I'm just going to bring you guys along with me. I'm using crud cutter and hot water and just cleaning all these items, removing price tags, taking off those handles and anything else. I will sand some of that wood later, and the first thing that I'm going to do is fill the holes. That's that water, y'all. That's after one wipe down. Yeah, so that's why cleaning is so important. I need to fill all these holes where they had the little wood plugger things. Y'all, I can't think of the words lately. They're in my head, but I can't find them. So you just have to excuse me. It's this perimenopause brain fog that I got going on. But anyway, I'm using a combination of wood glue and some old spackling that I had just to fill those holes. For all of these items here, I do know I'm going to decoupage on them. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I believe this is vintage linen by DIY. I'm giving all of these at least one, possibly two coats of the vintage linen, and we're going to come back and decoupage these with some of the new Connie Lines and Designs rice papers. Some of them are not new. I just have not been able to use them, or have only used them a little bit, so I want to use them more. For this first one, I have the Busy Bees, and I have used this one other time, but I love the colors on them, and it's a perfect time of the year to use the yellow and the bees. So for these rice papers, they're pretty thick. There's really no need to do a starter strip. These wood blanks are 8x8, so they're not huge, and it's really easy to put rice paper down without getting wrinkles. So I am using the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel and just doing a good healthy coat. I'm trying to get all or as much of the bees on there as I can and get it lined up, and then I just flatten it out with my hands, and then I will go over the top of it with another coat. I'm really being sure to press down around the edges because you don't want any lifting up on that. Then I'll just go over and put another coat on the top. For this second one, this is called Moment of Happiness, and this is the one with the music. And y'all, these are all available on my website, susieonthefarm.com. But this one has the sweetest little bluebird, and I'm doing the same exact thing with this one. I just line up the image how I want it. And for this one, I really wanted to use this cross. I wish that I could have got more of the flowers on it, but this was the best that I could do for this one. So I'm definitely going to be using this one again, probably on something bigger, because I love all those wildflowers at the bottom too. So I really want to be able to use them. But in the meantime, same process, put down a good healthy coat of the Decoupage and Transfer Gel. press it down, and then go over the top one more time with another coat of the gel. I'm putting all these aside to let them dry. For this little silver tray, this is one of the multiples that has the daisy on it. I cannot think of the name of it right now, but I won't be able to sand the edges off of this one. So what I'm doing here is just scoring it with my fingernail around that center part of the tray and then just cutting it. You could also do the tear method here where you just wet the paper, and I think I'll do that on the next one. But for this one, I'm just cutting it out as straight as I can, and then I'm going to decoupage it down just like I've done all of the others. I have a couple more boards I want to do, so I'm just trying to decide what's going to fit on this one best. I wanted to use the bird pretty bad, but I didn't want to cut his tail off, so I'm going to save that, and instead I'm going to use this Geranium Love with the music in the background. I think it's just a perfect little accent, and it's going to go with a lot of spring decor. So I'm just lining this up, same way, wetting the paper, laying it down, flattening it out, and doing another coat of the gel over the top. This is quite a repetitive process, I know, but I had a lot of these. I wanted to do some bulk on these, and sometimes the more you see it, the more it clicks. So, and that's why I also have this sped up pretty good. I did end up pulling this other one out, and the bunny fits perfectly on it. This one's called Harry the Hare, I believe, on the website, but I just love him. He is so stinking cute. I do have one more, and for this one, it's kind of long and narrow, and I want to use, this one's called Lilac You More. It's got these vibrant purple lilacs in it, which are absolutely beautiful, and this is the multiple size page, so you come with a couple of different sizes. For this one, since it's not exactly a perfect fit and doesn't cover the whole thing, I am going to do kind of an organic tear on it, and the rice paper tears pretty easily. It's very easy to control because it's quite thick. If you just wet it and tear on your line, if you keep your hand placed in the area that you want to keep, it's hard to tear there. I placed this one more down towards the bottom because I am going to do another little detail up towards the top. So now that I have all of these decoupage, I was thinking, so now I need to make something to go with all these. So I raided my hoard again, and I found this little jar, and I'm using Velvet Plum. This is one of the newer fusion colors, and this is my first time using it. Purple's not really something that I usually gravitate for, but to go with these lilacs, it was absolutely perfect. And fusion it paints like a dream. Even on this glass, it took 2 coats, and it looks absolutely perfect over this glass. And it's going to go so well with this little cutting board. For the little daisy platter there, don't laugh, but I actually had like a Campbell's soup can sitting around because in my book club we do little crafts, and we're saving these for our next craft. So I had this one. I had already peeled the label off of it. I am using DIY paint in the color Eden. This is from the last DIY paint color release, and I thought it was a perfect match for the stem on this little daisy, and I gave it 2 coats. And all of these I'm just putting them aside and letting them dry. I'm going to do the reveals after I get all these done and before we move on to some bigger projects. For the little hobnail glass, I bought this specifically to paint yellow. I love painting this hobnail yellow. I started out with the new cottage color honey because I'm doing this to go with the bees, but I decided to go with queen bee just because it's a little bit darker, and it's the color that Connie actually painted and used. I think she might have used some liquid sunshine as well, but on the bees. So I did 2 coats of DIY paint in the color Queen Bee over this hobnail glass vase. All of my papers are dry now, so now this is a very easy step. I'm just going to come in with my little finger sander and sand off all the edges, and I do save all those scraps, and I use them for paper crafting usually, but I have a big box full of cutoffs and scraps that I save because you just never know, and I don't like to waste anything. So I am getting all of these edges sanded off clean. Once I got everything sanded, I did not paint the back of this one because I just quickly painted it white because I pulled it out after I had painted everything. And I want to use an accent color on the sides and the back. And for that, I'm using DIY in the color Farm Fresh. There's little hints of it in the bunny picture as well. So I'm just doing all around the edges, and that paper is sealed on top, so if I do happen to get some on the paper, that's fine. I can wipe it back off later. And I'm going to go ahead and do 2 coats on the back, drying it in between. And I do love to watch DIY paint dry because it dries so much lighter, and I just think it's so cool to watch it dry, especially when I have it sped up like this. I went back to my stash and I found one lone little wooden bowl that I painted to match this with the Farm Fresh. Now that those 2 coats are dry, I'm going to use a baby wipe and come back and distress and bring back some of that wood underneath the bowl. And I'm also going to clean off any paint that I may have got on the front of that board. And to seal these, I'm just going to use some clear wax. And when you put the sealer on, whether it be wax or liquid patina or Big Top or any kind of sealer, your paint is going to go back dark. As it dries, it will lighten back up. So I'm just putting a coat of, this is Fusion clear wax because I had it handy, and then I will use a paper towel to wipe back any of the excess. Before I forget, in case you don't know, I do have all of the products that I use available on my website, susieonthefarm.com. You can find decoupage papers, DIY paint, Fusion mineral paint, IOD, all of the products that you can use to make all your thrift store makeovers lovely. For the hobnail, I'm also going to distress it. That's one thing I do love about the hobnail. I'm taking it pretty easy on that distressing because I do know when I wax it and wipe back, it will also distress more, which it does, and it did it absolutely perfectly in the end. I just love this look. I did not paint the bottom of these. They're clean, nice glass, so I left those like they were. For the little silver platter, I'm distressing it too, but I actually sealed in that DIY when I was decoupaging with the transfer gel. So I'm having to get a little bit of help from my finger sander there to get it distressed the way that I want it before I seal it up. And I also will distress the little Campbell's soup can that I painted very lightly again, because I know that when I wax it, it's going to distress even more. I did not paint the back of the tray. The silver was nice. I just cleaned it up and left it like that. Okay, for the little lilacs, I am using the Conservatory Labels mold, and I've dusted one of the little labels that'll fit perfectly on the top of that board with some cornstarch, and now I'm using some IOD air dry clay to cast this little label. Once I get it all flat on the back, I will flip it out and use my finger just to make sure that I have all the sides nice and smooth. Lay it where I want it, and while it's still wet, I'm going to use these alphabet stamps that I have. These were in my junk journal stash, and I got them a long time ago. Not really sure where, probably Amazon, and I'm just making an impression in the wet clay. You could also use the Apothecary label stamp to do this step, but mine was at home because my son used it to make a little sign for his teacher, and I forgot to bring it back home. So I let that mold dry overnight, and now it's the next morning and it's nice and hard. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it with that Velvet Plum. It's going to take 2 coats. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to use some white wax to really get down in that lilac and make it really stand out. And I just rub the wax on there, and then I'll take a paper towel or a baby wipe to wipe it back off. And I'm really making sure to get the wax down in the letters. This is nice and hard now. Overnight, it dries hard, almost hard as a rock. I'm then going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick to glue this on. I'm going to let it dry, and I know you guys are ready to see some reveals, so let's go ahead and reveal all of these makeovers that we've just done with their little items that go with them. I love how they turned out. They're so cute. I'm going to have these on the website for purchase right away, and if they don't sell, they will be in a Whatnot show. I think week after next is going to be all spring upcycles. Go anywhere because we have a lot of projects coming up soon. But I wanted to ask y'all, if you do have a favorite, or if something really stands out to you, please go ahead and leave me a comment below. You can pause this right now and do it, or you can wait till the end. Leave me a comment. Let me know which was your favorite. What's your favorite of these rice papers? And also give me a thumbs up on this video. YouTube's been very slow lately, and I'm starting to get a little bit concerned, and I hope that I can get it hyped back up where my videos are being shown out more so I can continue making them for you all. So I would really, really appreciate that. So do y'all remember this frame that I picked up at the Goodwill bins? I picked it up because I loved how chunky it was. It was really dirty, didn't have a glass, but I feel like we can use all of that. And for this frame, I am using the new DIY Cottage Color. This is, oh my, hold on. Garden Sage. I got up to go get it so I could remember the name, and then it came to me. So this is Garden Sage, and I did have to do 3 coats over this dark wood to get it covered, but I finally got it covered, and then I am going to distress it with my little finger sander. There's lots of edges that I can bring back some of that wood from underneath, and we can highlight all of those imperfections in the wood and just really bring it to life. I also picked up this gorgeous cross stitch at the Goodwill bins. I did not like the frame, but the cross stitch was in excellent shape. So I'm going to get it out of here. I am going to cut it down to size. There's probably a bunch of ways to do this, but I'm just an eyeballer. I just laid it under the frame, kind of marked where I needed to cut, and then I cut all around all 4 sides that, and it ended up being a perfect fit, which is actually quite unusual because I usually mess something up, and I was expecting to mess this up. After I did get it cut, I did leave it on that backer because it was stapled all the way around there. But once I cut it down, it cut the staples off. It was loose, so I just glued it right back onto that cardboard backer, and it fit perfectly in the frame. And I feel like this was a major improvement, and I love how this one turned out, and I know that this one's going to sell right away. So for the letter holder, I didn't get it on camera, but I absolutely knew that that dark wood was going to be a bleed through. So I went ahead and took it outside, and I sprayed it with a coat of primer. This is a white primer because it's just what I had. You could also use Salvation solution, but I was spray painting a few other things, so I just sprayed it. And now I'm coming back with that Garden Sage, and I'm going over the entire thing with 2 coats of the Garden Sage. I'm going to let that dry, and then I thought it would be neat to put a little floral transfer on it. Apparently, I didn't let it dry long enough because when I went to put the transfer on, it actually lifted the paint, and it may have had something to do with that primer as well. Underneath it, it lifted the paint off of the primer and lifted the primer off. So I guess I just didn't let it cure long enough. But that's okay. I've had this happen many times, and I know that I can fix it. I took a step back, I sanded off all the excess, and while I was at it, I went ahead and distressed all of the green paint to bring back some of that white primer underneath and maybe even some of that dark wood. I just want to give this piece a lot of character. So that's where we're going with that. So as you can see here, well, maybe you can't see, but it is lifting up the paint a little bit. And I see right there, I started to get a little worried, and then more of it lifted. So I just kind of lifted it off, gave up. Like I said, I sanded it and went ahead and distressed the whole thing. And I'm going to come back to that in just a second. So sorry for the close-up here, but I apparently did not have my phone on the 0.5 setting. But that's okay, y'all are getting a really close-up so you can really see where that paint lifted off. I am going to distress the whole thing, and then I'm going to come back with another little transfer and just cover all that up. No big deal. I am going to make sure it is really good and dry this time. I'm wiping off all the dust there, and then I'm going to use my heat gun to really dry it. Now I'm just filling in all of those spaces where you can see the wood. The great thing about IOD transfers is you can cut them apart. You can use them just however you want. And these are wildflowers and butterflies anyway. They're not going to be perfect. There's no set way that they have to be. So I'm just focused on covering my oops there. And then I put another little transfer on top. And then to finish this off, just to add even more character, I'm going to white wax it. For all that weaving there, I thought it would be cool to white wax it and get that down in there. Another close-up shot. Sorry about that, but I just put a coat of white wax on and then wiped it off, and that just blended everything in together, and it actually changed the color, but I love that garden sage with the white wax over it. It looks so beautiful. Here's everything that I have left to paint, and I'm going to do everything neutral. I'm going to do all of this off camera with Champlain, probably 2 coats on everything, and I'll see y'all back here after I get all of this painted. All right, I've got everything painted, and for these risers and these candlesticks, they have lots of pretty detail in them that get kind of hidden when you paint it. So I'm going to use Fusion Aging Wax on these. I love to use this over a beige. It just gives it the perfect amount of age and doesn't make it look like it's just something that you just painted. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1 coat of the wax over everything. I'll let it sit a minute, and then I'm going to come back and wipe it all the excess back, and it stays in those details and looks so good, especially on those candlesticks. I will say I did everything, waxed everything, and then came back with the paper towel and wiped them, and it was really hard to get some of it off in areas where I want it, and I'm kind of particular about that, so I spent a pretty good time clear waxing over, wiping back some more. So maybe just do one at a time. But these are so elegant. For the Pottery Barn candlesticks, I did decide while I was painting that I wanted to use the Farm Fresh on them. I just think it's such a cool accent over metal. So I did that, 2 coats of the Farm Fresh, and now I am distressing them to bring back some of that. I think it's pewter underneath with a baby wipe, and then I'm going to seal these with a clear matte sealer. I'm using Fusion Tough Coat to seal them. And then these are good to go. I styled them with that little bowl and a bunny, and they are just the perfect little spring addition. Okay, I'm going to call this a wooden trough. I've got it all painted, and now I'm going to use a paint inlay on it. This is the Trompe l'Oeil Laurel. I used the blue one. I think it's called Azure. But I haven't had a chance to use this one, and I had one open, so now is the perfect time. It had these laurels that fit on there absolutely perfectly, and to use a paint inlay on Fusion Paint, I like to use the DIY liquid patina for that instead of the paint. To me, it just works better. This one was not a perfect impression. I'm not sure what I did wrong. I wet it again, and now I'm wetting it to take it off. I have lots of videos on doing paint inlays if you want to go back and watch some of those. I didn't get too in detail on how to do it in this one. But here I am removing it, and see, there's parts that didn't transfer, but that's okay. I actually love that look on this. I think it gives it a lot of character. I went ahead and did the front and back because I had enough of these laurels, and that way if it's in the center of a table, it shows on both sides, and it's just the perfect subtle amount. You could do a beautiful arrangement of florals for any season in this, and it would be so pretty. I had all these lavender wildflowers that I put in there, and they are so pretty too. Those florals are actually available on my website too. Getting down to the nitty gritty, y'all. I can't believe it. We have 2 more projects left. I'm using some decoupage papers that I already had open because I'm in the stash busting mood again. This one is called burlap floral, or floral burlap, and it was the perfect size to fit on this crate. I'm just going to go ahead and use liquid patina for this and put a good coat down. I'm going to mist my decoupage paper and lay it directly over those slats, leaving a little bit on the edges, and then going back over it with another coat of liquid patina, and I will use the remainder on the back side. Once it's all dry, I am going to use a utility knife here just to cut out all of those slats. Make sure that your paper is completely dry before attempting to do any of this, or you will rip your paper. And I'm also using my sanding block to clean up all the edges. And then I did take it outside and sand the entire thing with my orbital sander as well, just to distress it and bring back some of that wood underneath. And I did get a little distress happy and pulled a little bit more paper off. I may, now that I'm looking at it, go back and fill that spot in, but the whole thing's really distressed. So it looks more in the picture than it actually does in person. So I'm really not sure about that. Okay, for this last big box with the heart handles, I totally forgot about May's Roses transfer book. It's sepia colored, and it looks so beautiful on this champagne color, and there's 4 pages. I had enough and some extra that I can use some other way to go all the way around this entire box. This is Fusion paint. It has a built-in sealer, so once it's dry, putting an IOD transfer on it is so easy. It goes on just like a dream. You just lift and rub as you go. For some of these, I carried over and put them around the edges. Some of them, I cut them off straight. It really just depended on the image and how it lined up with what was going on next to it. I did cut off all the words, and I will go back and add them on where I think they are best suited when I finish getting the transfer all the way on. If you're still here with me, thank you so much for sticking with me in this long video. Sometimes the creativity just hits you and you just got to go with it, and that's what happened to me this week. I did not want to stop. I wanted to keep going, but I had over 3.5 hours of footage that I had to condense down. I think I got us down here to like 35 minutes. So that was pretty awesome. So hopefully this will stick with me and I continue wanting to create all these things because I'm loving doing it, and I need them for the store and for Whatnot. If y'all haven't been over to Whatnot yet, we have so much fun over there. A lot of these items that you see me create, I sell there. I will leave a link to that in the comments below, but here I am just adding the words on. I did mess them up just a little bit, but it just adds to the character, and I did get the roses. I cut that off a little bit and had to carry the S over to the side. A little upset with myself on that one, but it's just part of it. Everything's not always going to turn out perfect, and the things that I notice, somebody else may not even notice. So I hope that y'all have enjoyed all these projects today. Like I said, please leave me a comment below. Let me know which was your favorite. I'm going to go back through here at the end and give you a slow view of all the projects that we completed in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all again next week.